Greetings everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Vectorman 2. We're gonna finish this shit today. Alright, Bad Eggs is kind of an interesting level. It is a vertical level, we just basically need to climb up. There are gonna be green eggs bouncing around. If you break it or it breaks, a random enemy will pop out from the game. So basically we could face any random enemy in the game. I got pretty lucky and got one of those big Hulk types at the beginning there. And now I got a Scorpion. So this is kind of a cool level to revisit a lot of old enemies. Pick up some power-ups that you may have missed. I can't say I missed the Scorpion power-up. It's kind of an awkward one to deal with, but whatever. I'll take what I can get. You could pretty much speedrun this level and just go to the top while ignoring the bouncing around eggs, which is kind of the preferred method of doing it because you're really doing yourself no favors by enraging the eggs and engaging fights with enemies that you really have no business fighting right now. I mean, like right now, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm fighting the thing. But that's okay, I got some power fists out of it. Some power fists out of the deal! Bop, what are those? Bop it. What are those, you know, inflatable punching gloves called? That you played with as kids as an excuse to beat the shit out of your brother. Anyway, this level is relatively short. It basically serves as the final climb to the final boss. That's actually it right there, and I don't know, we're doing a weird dance. I think the game is not used to you finishing the level in a power like that, so it's time for the final boss! Queen for a day! Or for whatever. We're gonna fight the queen. So anyway, she's actually a pretty difficult boss, I'll give it that. I don't know if it's hard mode doing it for me or what, but basically you have to shoot her up here on the top. The brain is the vulnerable part. She follows your movements and shoots red beams at you, or red balls at you. And also if you get near enough to her, she will take her spindly little spider legs and poke you with them, especially if you're standing on these platforms. So these platforms are almost like a troll. You know, they're just daring you to stand on them. But there is a strategy that I will figure out later, where you can stand on the very edge of the platform and she won't touch you, and that's kind of how you have to do this boss. So, anyway, this is what I've been saving all these lives for, because this boss is hard as fuck. I'll give you that. Finally, a final boss that meets up to the hype. And holy shit, I'm about to die. Yep, there we go. And again. This is just embarrassing. Alright, here we are. We're finally to my good run of the boss. I figured out the strategy. I tested it out in the last fight. I cut it out because, you know, repetitive is not fun. But here is kind of the pro strategy for being the queen without dying. You get on the platform and stand on the very edge so she can't stab you with her spindly legs, and when the platform goes down to the bottom, you want to jump to avoid her shots. Otherwise, you're home free, because she doesn't shoot up. She only shoots down in the bottom, you know, 180 degrees of the screen, so very cool, if you ask me. Compared to the final boss of Vectorman, I'd say this one, once you know the trick, is much easier than fighting, you know, Metalhead. Because Metalhead, you're flying around, there's debris everywhere. That shit was almost random, kind of, in, you know, the sense that you could kill it. But I will give it this. You don't get a lot of time to kill this boss in hard mode, but there it is. Once you do enough damage to her, she will destroy one of the platforms, so it's kind of a bitch to get on the other one without dying. So we're gonna do that. There we go. Nope. She's like, fuck you. Alright, there we go. Now we're on the other one. So you can probably see where this is going. If we damage her enough, again, we're gonna lose this right platform, and it's gonna get real fun. Nothing worse than getting her down to that much health and then dying. You only have to start over. Good thing is, though, there isn't a level to it, so if you die, you pretty much start right at the beginning of the fight again. So theoretically, since I've collected so many lives, I get 24 chances to do this. Probably, you know, not a lot of players probably collect as many lives as I did, but I used a lot of tricks to pick up tons of extra lives. That multiplayer trick is just, you know, very handy. Why is it always brains? I mean, seriously, what is it with video game bosses and brains being a weak point? Is that a thing? Why would you expose your brain? I mean, when I walked in here, it's not like, you know, it's not like she had it protected and I had to shoot a metal casing or something like that to expose it. Not like Mother Brain in a jar, you know. There was no protection. She was just sitting here with her brain hanging out her ass. Whatever. I'm not gonna question video game logic, especially in a game about a space garbage man killing bugs from outer space. Anyway, I'm taking a shit ton of damage, and this is... Oh man, this is looking bad. I only have one hit now. It's down to the wire. I say it's down to the wire, even though I have 24 lives, but, you know, pseudo-suspense is just as good as regular suspense, right? You know? Will I do it this time? I will say that the voice sample that they have is pretty cool. That little surrender thing that she says. Anyway, that's it. The final boss has been killed. Not much fanfare after that, though. Like I said, the plot of this game is almost non-existent, so this ending makes just as much sense as the rest of the game. There we go. Victory. Yep, that's it. We have a guts. Blue skies. Yeah. Vectorman is a pretty classy dude. So yeah. The plot was resolved exactly as it continued, in a completely nonsensical fashion. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this Let's Play. Sorry that I took, you know, such a big break in between. People who are watching this after it's over, that's not going to make any sense to, but those of you who stuck around with it live, thanks for sticking around. I had a lot of fun. You know, I really like the Vectorman series. I prefer the original to 2, but, you know, that happens with a lot of games. I do prefer the original to sequels a lot. Happened with the Rocket Knight Adventures, you know, other games. Anyway, overall, you know, I rate the series pretty high. It's probably one of my favorite games. I did have the original Vectorman on my Genesis when I was growing up, so it does hold that special nostalgic place near and dear to my heart, so maybe that's kind of me looking at it through rose-tinted glasses. Maybe you guys can tell me what you think. Anyway, that's going to be it for Vectorman and Vectorman 2. I'll see you guys at the next Let's Play. Thanks.